I would like to ask you to join me in welcoming for an invocation and remarks one of the most remarkable men I know. A man who has been in our thoughts and prayers, one of the hopes of all of the African continent, the peacemaker in South Africa, and our friend, Nobel Prize winner, but mainly a man of God and a man of the people, Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
I thought I was coming just to give the grace for the meal.
That's right, you're right.
Which reminds me a story that now it's not name dropping or anything like that. I'm doing it quite nonchalantly. I was having dinner with a friend of yours, a friend of mine, Bill Cosby, and he asked me just before the meal to say grace, and I said a suitably abbreviated grace, and he said, "You know, man, I once asked a minister to pray, and he went on and on and on. At the end I said to him, hey man, do you think God suffers from amnesia? You've been reminding him this, that, and that. I wish he had reminded you the food is getting cold." But it is a very very great honor to be here, and I think we want to give the Hunger Project staff and all of those who support them a very, very warm hand for a splendid job. They have brought together many wonderful people who are saying to us, as all of you are saying, that this world can and should become a better place. That this world ought not to be a hostile environment to sharing, to goodness, to compassion, to love. That is possible for people everywhere in the world to have an adequate supply of food. That hunger can be ended. And we just want to thank them for reminding us something that seems so pretty obvious. And to thank all of you friends for your caring about God's world, and especially about our part of God's world, Africa. And coming from South Africa, I want to say thank you, all of you, who have helped to bring us onto the threshold of quite staggering developments. You are all wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I want to pray now. But I'm reminded of a priest who had forgotten to say grace before eating. And when somebody nudged him and said, "Father, you are to pray now," he was much smarter than I, and thought of a psalm that starts off, "Praise the Lord, O my soul, and all that God is within me. Praise His holy name. Let us pray. God, we thank you for your love. We thank you for mediating it through so many others in the world to your children in need. We thank you especially for those involved in the Hunger Project. We thank you for the possibilities of supplying the needs of your many, many, many children in need. We thank you for the hands that seek to bring about sharing in your world. We thank you for those who say that this world is going to become beautiful. It is going to be a world of sharing, of caring, of compassion, of love, of laughter, of fullness of life. Siyabulela Thixo koku kutya okusiphe kona. Sicela uthi ukusikelele. Usikelele nezandla ezigcweleyo. Sicela ukuthi ube nabo bonke abo abasweleyo kwindawo ngendawo. uYesu Kristu Nkosi yethu. Amen.
We all know UNICEF, and we all know the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. But UNFPA is the UN fund for population activity. WFP is the World Food Program, and DIEC is the Division of International Economic Cooperation. I was really tickled to death when I heard that General Obasanjo was being honored, because he didn't do so good as the head of state in Nigeria with agriculture. And he really tried, and everything he did as the head of state didn't seem to work. And so after he, as one of the few African leaders who voluntarily gave up his position and held elections, he retired to a farm. And in 1981, I think, I happened to visit him on his farm in Abeokuta, and I was amazed. Everything was working. He was running a farm like it was a military base. But I asked him, I said, General, How come you can be so successful as a private citizen in agriculture and you really couldn't do much when you were head of state? And he looked at me and he said, Andy, it's very simple. Nobody will stay up all night with the government's pig. That's one of the most profound comments about agriculture that I think I have ever heard. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're greatly honored to begin our award ceremony. It's now my pleasure to introduce the woman who has led the Hunger Project since its conception and has built it into a global organization and a worldwide movement for the end of hunger. Today, more than 6.2 million people in 152 countries have enrolled in the Hunger Project. Everyone who has been privileged to work with Joan on any project knows and admires her brilliant executive abilities and her uncompromising stand for excellence. She's known around the world for her remarkable ability at making things happen, at translating vision into accomplishment. Joan Holmes is the embodiment of the commitment to a world where every man, woman, and child has an opportunity they need to live a healthy and productive life. She is an internationally recognized spokesperson and leader for the end of hunger, a champion for humanity, and a passionate and articulate voice for the dignity, hard work, and vision of those who struggle to bring their own hunger to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, won't you welcome with me Joan Holmes.
Distinguished heads of state and government, Mr. Secretary General of the Commonwealth, General Obasanjo, Dr. Oaklew, honorable ministers, honored guests, Hunger Project colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to be with you on the occasion of the 4th annual award ceremony of the Africa Prize for Leadership for the Sustainable End of Hunger. We are here tonight to honor leadership, bold, courageous, visionary leadership for the end of the persistence of hunger. This is an era marked by dramatic breakthroughs in science, technology, and international cooperation, and yet, for 1/5 of the world's population, the fact remains that they continue to live a life which is hallmarked by a life of daily struggle, the daily struggle for survival. 35,000 human beings die each day, 35,000 because they lack the opportunity to be adequately nourished. Nearly 9,000 of these deaths are on the African continent. Bringing an end to this needless tragedy requires many things, but none is as crucial as leadership. This makes it vital that those of us committed to the end of hunger create an environment in which leadership is expanded, supported, empowered, emboldened, acknowledged, and celebrated. Outstanding African leaders, General Olusegun Obasanjo and Dr. Esther Oaklew. General Obasanjo is a true champion for the end of hunger and a leading international spokesperson for the future of Africa. He is a man of unflinching determination and unwavering principle who is willing to confront the harsh realities facing Africa. He is hard-hitting in his analysis and forthright in expressing his views of what must be accomplished. One of the striking characteristics of the General's leadership is his profound recognition that in charting the future of Africa, women, their education, and their empowerment must be given the highest priority. General Obasanjo, as someone who has come to know and recognize the power and integrity of your leadership, may I, on behalf of the Hunger Project, offer you and extend to you our sincerest and warmest congratulations on being awarded the 1990 Africa Prize for Leadership. Our co-laureate is a person with an extraordinary record of accomplishment. Dr. Esther Oklu has dedicated her life to providing opportunities for Africa's entrepreneurs. She has enabled them to launch viable enterprises and contribute to the economic revitalization of the continent. In particular, she has empowered women to acquire the skills and credit they need to achieve a better standard of living for themselves and their families. In so doing, Dr. Oklu has expanded the frontiers of women's participation throughout the developing world. She is a model for all those striving to produce creative solutions to the problems of hunger and poverty. Dr. Oklu, the Hunger Project is proud and privileged to celebrate you and your outstanding leadership. We congratulate you on being awarded the 1990 Africa Prize for Leadership. Tonight, in honoring the first woman recipient of the Africa Prize, we have the opportunity to pay tribute to many women. Heroic struggle to end the persistence of hunger and to achieve economic liberation. It is well known that the participation of women in this struggle is largely unreported. It is also well known that the women of Africa have and face the harshest circumstances in their daily lives. Yet those of us who have the privilege of working with Africa know that the African women know of their contribution, and we know of their leadership, and we know that it is undeniable. In Africa, women have the primary responsibility to provide their families with food, fuel, water, health, and education. In addition to fulfilling this extraordinary responsibility, the women of Africa also make an enormous contribution to the economy. They comprise up to close to 35% of the workforce in sub-Saharan Africa, and in several countries, women make up more than 50%. In certain sectors of the economy, women play the paramount role. In the informal sector, 70% of all the micro-enterprises are run by women. Micro-enterprises like handicrafts, garment making, and street vending. In the service sector, in areas like health and education, women make up more than 60% of the workforce in countries as diverse as Egypt, Kenya, Malawi, and Botswana. And in Africa's priority of priorities, agriculture, women are at the forefront. Women till the fields, weed the sorghum, transplant the rice seedlings, harvest the crops, grind the maize, tend the animals, and process and market the food that feeds the families of Africa. 80% of all small-scale food farmers in Africa are women. But you and I are here tonight not only to acknowledge the work and contribution of people to the end of hunger. You and I are here tonight to honor leadership. As all of us are well aware, leadership knows no boundaries of race or sex. It is not confined to a certain background or expertise. Leadership is a profoundly human quality present in each of us that, when expressed, has the power to transform families, nations, continents, and on occasion the whole world. This evening, I would like to give us the opportunity to recognize the thousands of women in Africa who are expressing bold, courageous, innovative leadership. One such leader is Dr. Mamphele Ramphele, founder and director of the Community Health Center in the Black communities of South Africa. In 1977, she was banned by the South African government for her leadership and forcibly exiled to a remote resettlement area of the Transvaal. Undaunted by being removed from her family, her friends, and her work, Dr. Ramphele established a new health center, this time serving an impoverished population of 100,000 people.
Start the meter again.
This center proved to be a catalyst. People from the region came together to tackle the problems of poverty, unemployment, disease, and illiteracy. In Kenya, Professor Wangari Maathai created the first women's environment movement in Africa. Long before the environment became a priority on the international agenda, Dr. Maathai observed the serious problems in Kenya caused by the loss of trees and the encroachment of the desert. She made a substantive analysis of these problems, devised creative solutions, and organized a nationwide movement of women to meet the challenge. Under Dr. Maathai's enterprising leadership, more than 50,000 women have joined this village-based movement, and they have planted an estimated 10 million trees. Insightful strategic intelligence is the hallmark of the leadership of Dr. Marie-Angelique Sauvanet. Dr. Sauvanet recognized the paucity of research on African women and the lack of data regarding their contribution. She knew that without this information, policies and programs to revitalize the continent would inevitably fall short of the mark. In 1977, Dr. Sauvanet founded AWARD, the Association of African Women for Research and Development. In just 13 years, AWARD has grown from a handful of women researchers into a pan-African network. This network is designed to ensure that all social science on the continent takes account of women's contribution. Ramata Sawadogo of Burkina Faso is expressing her leadership in the grassroots movement, one of the most potent forces for the end of hunger on the African continent today. I well recall my first experience of seeing Ramata. She was leading an outdoor training session for 300 community leaders, known locally as animators. I was inspired to hear these women from across West Africa. They shared their triumphs and challenges in organizing the village women to learn to read and write, to gain access to credit, and to seek out information on family planning. Ramata has provided this training for thousands of animators in West Africa. Seeing Ramata's dynamic leadership in action, I gained a deeper appreciation for the impact that she and women like her are having on the quality of life for men, women, and children throughout Africa. Everywhere I've traveled, I've come face to face with the courage, boldness, vision, and creativity of Africa's women leaders. Leaders like Zimbabwe's First Lady, Sally Mugabe, who has made child survival and development a top priority in Southern Africa. Nana Rawlings, President of Ghana's National Women's Movement. Graça Machel, the former Minister of Education in Mozambique and now President of the National Organization of Children. Mary Kadesa, Director of the Women's Center at the Economic Commission for Africa. Mary Okello, member of the Hunger Project's Global Board of Directors and the first woman to serve as Senior Advisor to the President of the African Development Bank. And Botswana's Foreign Minister, Dr. c4t3, whose negotiating skills have been crucial in expressing Botswana's stand against apartheid. These leaders and thousands like them demonstrate the fact that women do not only work hard, contribute to their families, and grow Africa's food. The bottom line is, women are coming into their own power and their own leadership. This is good news for Africa. The leadership of women, together with that of men, creates and provides an expanded pool of talent, fresh perspectives, and strength and commitment. It creates the possibility for a dynamic new synergy of leadership that will end hunger in Africa. Thank you.
Very, very well done. We now come to the heart of tonight's ceremony, the presentation of the Africa Prize. And to present these awards, we are honored to have with us the chairman of the Africa Prize jury, the Honorable Bradford Morse. Mr. Morse is a man who is known throughout the world as a humanitarian, statesman, and peacemaker. As a representative in the United States Congress, as administrator of the UN Development Program for 13 years, and today as president of the Salzburg Seminar, Brad Morse's life epitomizes the highest levels of public service. Throughout his career, Mr. Morse has constantly demonstrated his commitment to the African continent and to the well-being of its people. In 1985, at the personal request of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Morse was appointed head of the Office for Emergency Operations in Africa. As such, he was responsible for coordinating and directing the world's response to the African famine. In just 4 months, he organized an unprecedented 125-nation conference